Are you curious to hear what's actually happening at the real estate market here at the South Jersey Shore for December 2022? Well, I'm about to go through that in this video right now. Hey, I'm Adam D with the Local Connect and KW Realty, and now more than ever, people are asking, how's the market? Well, I'm here to tell you what's actually happening here at the South Jersey Shore. Well, here we are, we've made it to December at the end of the year, and it's a perfect time to reflect back on what's actually happened, the market data for 2022 compared to last year. Before I get to it, I hope that you and your family are having a very happy holiday and a prosperous new year. Right now in today's market, things have slowed down a little bit. You've probably seen the headlines in the news, and I want to tell you what's actually happening. So there are fewer transactions right now. There's less buyers and actually less sellers as well in the market right now. I haven't seen prices go down, and interest rates actually have reduced the past 3 weeks or so. So that's a good encouraging trend. We still have very low inventory levels, and the nice condition properties that are priced correctly are still seeing a lot of activity from buyers and even multiple offers. But in today's market, the properties that need a lot of work, are priced too high, or just are troublesome to get into, are hanging around and sitting on the market longer than they were last year. The last thing that I'm going to show you is that our transaction count is down. So there's going to be far fewer properties that end up selling this year than last year. And when you're looking at the media or listening to the news, I want to make sure you're paying attention to the correct facts. Having less transactions doesn't necessarily mean a market crash. All right, so let's dive a little bit deeper into the actual numbers. Take a look at the following charts. At this point, everybody's heard about the Fed's increasing rates, and therefore mortgage rates are going up. This is a reminder, the Fed set the 10-year Treasury, which mortgage rates often follow, but the Feds don't actually change their rates. But the purpose of doing all this is to control inflation. And, the real estate market was going crazy, prices going up, inflation's out of control, so the Feds want to try and temper that, right? And so what Barry says here is because we see a slowdown, right? The media says there's a slowdown, but it's really just less home sales. We see that the inflation comparisons start to become more and more favorable, right? So inflation's actually coming down a little bit, and mortgage rates should move similarly on a downward trajectory, probably giving us around 5%, below 5% within the next 6 months. So what the experts are predicting is that mortgage interest rates are not going to continue going sky high. They might actually continue to come down a little bit, just like they have the last 3 weeks or so. Now, when you're listening to the media or reading online about the housing news, I want to make sure you're using the proper context because a lot of that's nationwide, and there are markets like Phoenix or Los Angeles that saw massive growth, more so than our market did over the last few years, and they are seeing price declines, but it's not something that we're seeing right now because we didn't see as much of the extreme, believe it or not, that they did. And one of the things we're talking about is housing crashes and Americans being in financial distress, which when we look at the actual numbers, I'm not seeing. Actually, we're at historic lows for debt to income ratios, meaning that people are making more money and have lower debt, right? Which is really good. It's much lower than we saw in that housing crash in 2007, 2008. So I think that's really good news. Now, what I'm looking back at is what Powell said actually back in June of this year, right? And what he said was that if you're a home buyer, you want a bit of a market reset. We want to slow things down and get inflation under control, and then mortgage rates are probably going to be low again. So I think whether you agree with their goal or not, we're getting there, right? Things have slowed down. There is a bit of a reset to the market. Those interest rates caused everybody to take a step back for a moment and see what was happening with the market. And here we are, right? And everybody's predicting, or the experts are, in next year that we're going to see slightly lower rates. We're not going to see the 6 and 7%. You'll see that even over the last few weeks, they've actually dropped from their 7% numbers, a little bit lower here. And here's the expert projections for mortgage rates for next year in 2023. So we see a lot of low sixes here. Some of the other experts say even lower. And as inflation again eases, those mortgage interest rates will continue to pull back. Now, one of the big things I'm seeing this year in the industry is that there's less home selling this year than there has been in quite some time. I'll dig into that a little bit deeper on the local numbers, but these are the national numbers. So I think we're going to see a little bit more certainty heading into next year. Some buyers that have removed themselves from the market due to mortgage interest rates are probably going to bounce back into the market because the market really hasn't changed in the sense that there's still low inventory. There hasn't been a market crash. There hasn't been a bunch of other homes coming onto the market. So interest rates are going to come down a little bit more, and those buyers that probably put things on pause, for interest rates reasons or seasonality or whatever it may be coming back into the market. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen to prices next year. Nobody knows for sure. We're looking at what all the different experts are saying, and you have some people saying there's going to be appreciation, some are saying depreciation. But if you take all these experts and you average them out, values are probably going to stay just around the same. There's probably not going to be a big swing in either direction, in my opinion. Now, this crazy graph here is showing for our local MLS, new listings coming onto the market, listings going under contract, and those selling. And all this craziness here, all it shows us is that each of these are following each other. So when there's going to be a market crash, there's a lot of new listings coming onto the market, and they are no longer going under contract, right? But all these crazy lines on here are showing that properties come on the market, they go under contract, and they sell, which is not an indication of a market crash. In fact, this is still a very healthy market, very low inventory. So we're going to continue to see prices where they are without a crash, unless we see a lot of new listings come on the market, and again, them no longer going under contract. Now, these numbers are for our local Atlantic County and Cape May County MLS. One of the things you've heard me say a few times is about total transactions declining. So you can see here, these are going to be the expected closings for this year. It's about 7,700 properties to actually sell and close in this year. Compared to last year, there was over 10,000, same as the year before. So we were seeing much fewer transactions, but inventory remains low. So I think that we're going to see this continue into next year, where we're going to have fewer transactions, just because the last couple of years were just an extreme market, right? And we're probably going to balance that out with a few years of fewer transactions. Now, talk about inventory again. This is just the new listings coming onto the market over the past few years, going back to 2018. And you can see again, even though there were less sales, there were fewer properties coming on the market. And once again, that's what's preventing us from having a market crash, is because there's low inventory or fewer properties onto the market. So there are not all these properties for just a few buyers, right? We have a lot of buyers and few properties on the market, which again is preventing a market crash. And last but not least, this is days on market comparing the last few years. And this has remained, relatively stable, no major changes, but, the market's been more competitive the last few years, so average days on market are lower. And we may trend back to more of a normal neutral market where properties are taking, 3 to 6 months to sell, unlike it taking a few days earlier in the year, right? But that, again, isn't a cause for concern. I'm not seeing any major changes to average days on market. We're still going to see kind of a normal market condition here. Last thing here, I understand for whatever reason, a lot of people like when I share this graph. So this is from Showing Time, which displays the number of buyers or showings that sellers are receiving. So buyers walking through the door to see a house for sale. And we started tracking these numbers for COVID reasons. Not really the reason now, but it compares 2020, 21, and 2022. You can see we have fewer showings, which correlates to fewer transactions. Again, to beat the dead horse, right? But less transactions this year, less showings. But the good news is, and the thing that doesn't show a market crash, is that these have all kind of followed each other, right? I mean, you can see that we've moved up and down kind of in the same pace that we have in previous years. So we're just going to have, again, a lower transaction count year, which don't let the media misconstrue that to be a market crash, when all it's saying is that so we have a more normal year than we did the last 2 years as far as the number of transactions. So that's a look at what's actually happening in today's market and what we've seen happen over the last year or so compared to the past few years, and how the market's changing, and what we might see going into next year as well. I really hope you found this video beneficial as we end 2022 here. If you like what you're seeing in these videos, please make sure to subscribe and hear all things about the real estate market here at the South Jersey Shore. Again, I hope you and your family have a very happy holiday, and look forward to talking to you soon and seeing you next year. Thanks again for watching. I'm Adam D with the Local Connect and KW Realty, and I'll see you on the next video.